who are my favorite colleagues from Teams Engineering, who we work with closely. I think some of you on the call here might have already worked with us, but you might not have seen our faces. So hi, we'll put a face to the name. And I just request everybody that this is going to be, we're going to have multiple people come in and showcase different examples, different business scenarios around collaborative apps. And hopefully by the end of the conversation, you get an idea of how you can enable your organization as well. And if you would like to get in touch with us in terms of how you can implement something similar for your specific business requirements, we will share a form right towards the end. It's a simple form with a couple of questions, and then we'll get in touch with you and we can enable and build similar next generation apps within your organization as well. As we're going to have multiple people presenting, please, I would request that you utilize the chat to ask all your questions, and we will have people moderating the chat. I've got Vinay and Swati who volunteered, hey guys, who will help answer as many questions as possible, along with Aryak and Srinidhi as well. So feel free to use the chat to, sorry, that is my best friend over here. We've also got a few folks who will monitor the chat, ask questions. Feel free to ask questions and we will address as many questions as possible. And towards the end, if we do have time, we will actually pick up some of those questions and answer within the meeting as well. With no further ado, we'll kick it off. So just to give context, we're all familiar with Microsoft Teams and what it has delivered to all of us over the last year. Teams was built as to really be a layer where a single solution where we can have communication, we can have collaboration, but also automate your business workflows, also automate your business processes and integrate them, thereby really forming a single layer where people can come together in person, or and today, people can come together digitally and get work done. Get work done in your day-to-day operations, get work done in the flow of your work, of course, in a secure and compliant manner. And integrating your business processes and building those solutions out within Teams. And because Teams is really a platform which you can extend to your business needs, that is where we push the envelope, and that is where we really start to capitalize on the capabilities of Teams. And in terms of the platform and its capabilities, the unique thing that I love about Teams personally is the number of experiences and the number of frameworks or services and tools that you can use to bring out these experiences. As you can see, if you are to build a custom solution or a custom app for your organization to, say, unlock a challenge or address a business pain point that you have, we can use so many of these different components in so many different ways. Tabs is a good example. Some of you might also already be using Tabs, which is a large canvas to have maybe a dashboard or a task board, a place where multiple people can access a large amount of information. But maybe if you are wanting to have a solution that should interact with users more and engage with them, a bot is a way to go. If you want to complete tasks while you are in the flow of a meeting, then we could build solutions that pop up within a meeting using our meeting extensions. So this gives you an idea of how when we build solutions within Teams that meet your business needs, we can also address where it needs to meet the business need, whether it needs to be within a conversation in a chat, or should it be when you are connecting with a topic inside a channel, or should it be inside a meeting, or in any of the other cases. So we can address different user experiences as per your need and ensure that the solution really meets where the user lives. And on top of all of this, bring in the collaboration aspect, which brings people together. What we've also observed recently is we are all reimagining our application landscape. We're all reimagining how we collaborate, and Teams being created to be the hub for teamwork. We're also reimagining how we should enable businesses to collaborate within Teams, and how beyond individual productivity, collaboration should be the core, and collaboration should come as the center in these changing times, and really help organizations around the world use this digital platform to bring all their employees across the board, across borders, bring all of them together and get work done. And with that notion, or with that idea in mind, was when over summer now which offers the flexibility developers, for anybody who wants to build an application, allowing
I
them this entire range.
think your voice in between, at least I am. I'm not sure about others.
Yeah,
Oh,
there was a voice break in between.
can you guys hear me now?
Correct.
Yeah, now it
Okay,
is fine.
thank you. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So yes, the idea, as you can see, the different layers over here, and starting from the bottom, where we can build apps with low code, no code approaches, all the way to completely pro dev from scratch, where it's pro dev. We're offering what is range and flexibility in terms of developers being able to use their existing skill set, their existing technological stack to build this out. And the ultimate goal is, as they decide to choose and find their way through all these different components, that gives them the flexibility. Ultimately, it's across any of the operating systems that we're able to surface this collaborative application within your organization. So what we build within teams will in the end exist irrespective of the operating system that the end user is on. And I'm so excited to say that things like the fluid framework, which we will preview right towards the end, will allow people to truly collaborate and build items and build conversations together real time, and that is truly going to you know as I previously mentioned, reimagine how we do collaboration. So what this means, or what was the outcome, or what did we want to gun for when we started to think of collaboration and collaborative apps, was ultimately we want people to have more discoverability of information. We want people to easily share information, through these collaborative apps. We want people to, within a meeting, real time, complete a whiteboarding session to quickly brainstorm, be synchronous, try and resonate as much as possible what was real life to what is now the remote life or the remote way in which we work. And the goal is to create more engagement, but along the way, if there is a business process that we want to solve for, or if there's a business challenge that we want to solve for, we want to help enable organizations by creating end-to-end solutions along the way. And of course, from an investment perspective, collaborative apps means that you have multiple personas using the same solution within teams, which is going to result in more usage and ROI. But the ultimate dream of you creating a digital workspace for each of your employees, where teams will be the single operating layer, where you have automated workflows, you have people co-authoring and co-documenting, co-creating documents. Of course, they also converse on a day-to-day basis. They connect with topics, they connect with people, they come together and they get work done. And with this idea in mind, we started to really address, how do we create this business transformation? How do we digitally transform using technology? So many processes, so many things that happen inside an organization, and within Microsoft we want to put it across 4 broad pillars, if I would call these. And today, of course, we are going to focus on the first one, and hopefully, if we do more collaborative apps roundtables, we will address and look through all the other ones as well. But among these, if we were to really deep dive, and I'm going to show you a few examples, very high level, of so many processes and workflows that you have within your organization. Mind you, these are just examples that I've just listed out over here. And your organization might do some of these things, or might not. Maybe they do more than what is listed here. But sorry, was there a question? But there is a way in which we can easily bring together any of these processes, any of these inside of teams, where we're able to push productivity, where we're able to push collaboration, where we are able to bring people together and make things happen faster and better. And of course, because today we're focusing on empowering employees, we're going to sort of zoom in on that a little bit. And following me is going to be a series of folks with whom we're going to discuss about some of the examples over here, starting out with a little bit of focus on HR, the folks who really empower employees within your organization, and how, we'll pick one of those examples from the various HR processes to see how we can transform, life for human resource folks within teams, and then really focus on empowering employees from various angles. It's not just for folks who are information workers, but also frontline workers, and touch upon a few examples there. I'm excited to, share what's in store, and I'm going to pass it on to Srinidhi over here, who is going to walk us through a really cool example that she has. Srinidhi, all yours. Take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Harish. Hi, everybody. Very good morning. Hope you're doing well and safe. So a little bit of context to what Harish has spoken so far, the collaborative experience, making the discoverability of your business process easier inside teams. That's going to be the theme. With that in mind, we have one end-to-end scenario, which is going to empower the recruiting experiences. And that's going to be thought through of how we're going to do this inside of teams, right? Now, quickly moving on, what I'm going to be having is an end-to-end experience, which means there are a couple of processes that we would have today, and all of these would be happening in silos. We're going to reimagine what it would take for us to build this end-to-end inside of teams, making it more collaborative, enabling different people from different backgrounds to, work closely inside of teams, right? Now, when it comes to recruitment, there are ideally three key personas that come to mind. One of that is the hiring manager. Second one is the recruiter and the whole HR team who's going to facilitate all of the logistics and processes. And third one is going to be the candidates who are going to be interviewing for these roles, right? So broadly, broadly these activities are classified in 4 buckets. First one is, the hiring manager and the recruiters talking about the JDs, talking about the number of posts that are vacant. Moving on to, they would be analyzing few candidates, whoever is going to apply through those JDs, which is followed by the interview process if the candidates are shortlisted from the initial analysis. And once the candidate goes through the series of interviews, what it would mean to, prepare and roll out the offer, and all of that, keeping in mind, a collaborative canvas in mind, right? So I'm going to be walking us over the entire series of how this information is planned. So I'm going to be double clicking more on how each of these scenario is thought through. I'm also keeping my eye on the chat in case if you have any questions, feel free to drop your question out there as well.
Awesome.
So,
hey, and Srinidhi, I had a question. So this is just one idea, right? Because every organization might do recruitment processes differently.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, that's a great point, Harish. Yes, it is one of the ways in which how we can enable all of the different personas to, do their process seamlessly on teams. However, there could be different angles to it, which is very specific to certain organizations that we could definitely, talk through or walk through depending on their organization as well.
Awesome.
Now, given that this is going to be end-to-end without any delay, I'm going to be continuing in each of the individual aspects to see how team is going to be really collaborative and empowering in the ways. Now, quickly moving on to the first process, which is typically where the hiring manager is going to be talking to the recruiter to sort of share the JDs, how the JDs would work, and once they finalize on the job description that needs to be posted, the number of positions, there's going to be a message action which the recruiter is sort of going to use to post this message. And now once this, this is going in a loop and I'm having a slight lag in it, so just pardon me for this. Right, so once the recruiter is sort of going to finalize what the job offer is, they would have an ability to post this directly on your career website or on the LinkedIn page of your organization directly from within Teams. this is going to obviously ensure that they're going to miss out on all the loops where they'd have to manually go upload this in your career site or be dependent on so many other people to get this job done. The hiring manager or the recruiter can directly go and do this. Now, once they do this, this is also the system is also going to be providing the notification to the hiring managers as well as the recruiters to sort of intimate them that their job posting has been done. They can either click on the organization's website and then we can view it on the LinkedIn, so on and so forth. This is basically going to ensure that the first bit is done, which is the hiring manager and the recruiter collaborating to get the job description out in a much more collaborative fashion. Now, quickly moving on to the next aspect of it, which is going to be once the job is posted on different websites, there are going to be series of applicants or applications that's going to come in. How is this really going to be streamlined inside of Teams? Is essentially there is going to be a notification that's going to intimate the recruiter as well as the hiring manager to sort of say, hey, you have so many people applied on this, and the minute that they're going to click on view candidates, it's going to open in a canvas that Harish was talking about, which is the tab experience, where the hiring manager can sort of go look at the people who have applied, look at their profile, a mini resume, you could imagine, right inside of Teams, and they would have an option to add this person as a part of the interview loop so that they can be considered for the next round of information or round of interviews that they'd want to go through, or even otherwise they get to see a list of candidates that that have applied, right? And there are certain backend AIML which could power how much of the skill is matched, what is a variety of candidates who are applying, and then obviously when they click on view details, you could click on view more details, and then we could add them on the interview loop as well, right? So once the candidate has been added to the interview loop, obviously the next process is going to be that it's not going to be one hiring manager and one recruiter working to hire candidates. It's it's ultimately going to be a pool of interviewers on one end wanting to talk to people and hire them. So we can also have an option or an ability to choose teams or the hiring panel of sorts to enable this entire interview loop sort of creation, right? So what we have seen so far is basically the hiring managers talking with the recruiters setting out and sending this information on the career and LinkedIn page, and then people are starting to apply. We are also have received a pool of candidates who are ready to be interviewed, and at this stage we are setting up a hiring panel. Now, what happens once the hiring panel has been set up is finding time for each of these hiring members in the hiring panel is a huge challenge, right? So imagine if Aryak and Harish are in the hiring panel and I'm the recruiter who's trying to coordinate for their time. Most often than not, it's going to be a very huge task and I have to follow up on their calendar, block some time in advance. Sorry, Harish, my cursor is not moving. Could you go to the next slide? Awesome. Yeah. So this is typically going to be where, finding a shared availability for the interview panel is going to be a huge task. So here is where we again empower this right within Teams. Now, all the hiring panel members are added to a part of Teams channel where they're going to be talking about all the consecutive steps that's going to happen, right? And that's going to start from them, having the members in the hiring panel. And sorry, Harish, my cursor is not moving again. If you could click on the video, right. So basically, yeah, so the interviewer or the recruiter could look into the shared calendar, schedule interview, and when they schedule an interview, this is going to be an email template that's going to sort of go out to the employee, wherein they can fill in the time slot, choose a time slot, and they're ready to be interviewed for, right? So that's basically going to be getting all of these people together in one common place and enabling all of this, shared calendar experiences, or making the whole, experience seamless when it comes to having an interview panel ready to interview candidates. Now, quickly moving on to the next screen. Sorry, Harish, I'm going to request for access again. Now, one more information bit of it is once the interview has been scheduled,
One question I had put in chat box: which plugin are you using here?
So these are combination of applications, Tapan, not really one end-to-end application. The idea is how we are surfacing this in Teams, which is the focus over here. The apps or the backend integrations are something that could be of your own today, right? Like say, for example, if you are having some application for your hiring process, we could very well integrate that with teams. The more idea is focused on how does it look more collaborative and how can we collaborate with other members as well in teams, and that's the primary focus here.
Sure, sure.
Awesome. Before I move on to the next bit, all the recruiters are going to get notified about the upcoming interview that they are a part of along with the interview panel. They can acknowledge their presence, which means they're accepting to interview the candidate. They would have an option to swap it. If they want to view the resume of the candidate that they're going to look at, they could directly do here. The idea of the mobile screen here is just to reiterate the fact that any app that we build on Teams today is device agnostic. And what it means is you can access these applications from anywhere, across any devices and OS, right? So quickly moving on, Harish, please, if you could go to the next screen. I'm very sorry. Yeah. So before the whole interview process starts, there's going to be a canvas where the hiring manager and the recruiter can sort of go look at the timeline of who has been the previous people who have interviewed this particular candidate, and if they want to add a series of questions that they would want to ask the candidate, there is a provision to add that as well. So earlier, like whenever we sort of do recruiting, there's going to be a bunch of questions that's going to be made available in our internal portal. We'd have to sort of go to that portal via our browser, access these questions, and then ask the interviewer as a part of the candidate. I'm sorry, can you go back? Yeah, so as the candidate as a part of the interview. So to cut that short and to make it more seamless, we would have an ability, when I say we, the interviewer would have an ability to add all of the questions that they want. And when the candidate is on the meeting bridge, they can directly ask these questions to the candidate and rate how confident or how good the candidate is on a certain aspect of it, right? So this is basically a meeting tab, and we are adding this particular tab as a part of the meeting invite that we have already sent out with the candidate. Quickly moving on to the next bit. This is an interesting aspect where today we know we are all part of the Teams meeting that we have, and then whenever the candidate comes on the meeting bridge, the hiring manager will have a panel on the left rail, and this is usually what we call as meeting extensibility panel, wherein they would be able to go ahead and Harish, if you could pause, yeah, if you could pause there. So the meeting interviewer can sort of go and look into the resume, peer feedback that they have sort of received from the previous interviewers who have been interviewing this particular candidate, and then they could also rate the candidate depending on the questions that they answered, and also add a comment to say, okay, this candidate is very good, etc. If you could just scroll a little back on this video, there's one interesting aspect that a lot of our customers have asked, which is basically the facial recognition aspect of it, right? So a lot of times, because it's the remote environment and we are continuing to hire on remote, there's also some facial recognition aspect of it, which comes as a verification part to sort of understand and validate whether the candidate that we're talking to is them the real person, or is there any issues or trouble that we're having with the candidate who's on record versus the candidate who comes on the call to attend these interviews as well. So all of these are pretty interesting aspect of meeting extensibility, and this is the newest of our capabilities when it comes to surfacing any of your application inside of Teams meeting and working on that application in real time as the meeting is progressing.
I love this because I feel like there's going to be, it's so real, right? So while you're inside an interview, you have all the context right there within the meeting itself. Anything related to the candidate, their information, and of course you're also filling out feedback and rating the candidate, which is, again, I think it'll go back to where other members of the hiring panel can also immediately have a look at, right? This is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's more real time. And one more focus that I want to talk is how it reduces a lot of context switching, right? I don't have to continuously be mindful about 2-3 apps that I'm going to use day in and day out. It's all there inside of Teams for me to do my work, right? Now, quickly moving on to the next bit of it, which is going to be the the hiring manager. So once after the interview is done, here is where the interviewer as well as the recruiting team, they're going to have back and forth conversation to sort of zero down on the candidates. And here is where we use what we call as message extension to pull out the list of candidates that are in the information loop or in the interview loop. And once we have finalized on a candidate and the offer, and they're good to go with respect to offer, we could schedule another round of interviews, or we could just pull out their information and start sending them out their offer letters and information and so on. In this particular screen, it's going to be just about how the employee, for example, if a particular interview needs to be rescheduled, and if the interviewer want to sort of intimate that to the recruiting team, they can do that as a part of team and channel as well. Now, once the feedback has been received by the interviewer that, okay, this candidate is good to go, we recommend them that they get hired, the recruitment team can directly update the view offer package over here. And Harish, if you could click on the video. Yeah, so here is where there are templatized task modules that are already available, wherein the recruiter, all they would have to do is just match, fill in the terms and condition, update it, and this is going to be sent out as an email to the candidate with all of these information as well, right? And all of this is done within Teams. There is again no need to context switch to Outlook or any other mail that you're using to send out these offer letters to the candidate. Now, once the offer is made, this can be made with the help of imagine a DocuSign or an Adobe Sign, because we are all in virtual world, and the candidate is just going to sign the offer letter and going to send it back. Now, once they send the offer letter back, and as soon as they accept the offer, right, which would take us to the next screen, the information gets updated in real time as and when they sign it. And this is very, very important, and something that's really cool, right? Because now the interviewer or the recruiter, they need not go hunting on a particular tool to sort of know, hey, has a candidate updated, have they really signed in, what's the status day in and day out. As in when the candidates are going to accept the interview, the recruiter and the interviewer, they're going to get notified about it. And also another important thing that can be programmatically configured is, right, as in when the positions get filled in, the bot is going to remind us to sort of say, hey, these positions are now filled in, you might want to remove these posts from all of the career sites and the LinkedIn pages that this post is being made to, right? More often than not, a lot of people end up applying for roles that are already closed, and that's because there's always a never-ending gap between updating a particular job position to when the job position actually gets closed, right? So that is typically this end-to-end process. This can also be slightly extended, which takes us to the next bit of it, which is the whole onboarding flow, right? Now, what happens once the candidate is accepted the offer, they're ready to join in, they can come into Teams, they can get access into Teams, and they would have a whole onboarding app in itself, wherein they can start a bunch of tasks or bunch of work that they need to do, and they're not completely lost because it's day one and they needed some sort of guided experience to sort of navigate the entire new organization and how it is. And this onboarding bot or an onboarding tool is going to help them help their first day into the organization a great experience, right? So
and Harish, I'm just going to voice a common question coming in the chat. So folks want to understand, so if we have an existing application that does some of this, how do I integrate that with Teams? How do we bring something or a part of this to life?
Awesome. Thanks, Adi, and thanks everybody for that question. And idea is, it's going to be pretty straightforward, and integration is very much possible depending on. So this is an entire end-to-end journey, right? And depending on which area you want to sort of focus first, we can try and understand what is the backend that you have, and then try and see if there are relevant APIs which we can sort of integrate with inside this particular application. And once that's done, it's going to be pretty straightforward to get this experience on Teams, and also updating the system that you have in backend in real time.
So just to summarize and take away, and I think I love that on each of the slide, you also had these integration touch points at the bottom. So essentially what we are saying is these experiences to the end user, be it in chat, in the meeting, in the channel, notifications, right? And all the power of that platform that's there is integrated with one or more of these systems if they are relevant APIs available. And this can be brought into that context of the flow using the power of the Teams platform with like adaptive cards, tabs, and so on, correct?
Absolutely. So because every organization uses a different application, right, for their recruitment activities and their hiring process. So, and depending on what part of the entire process, what Srinidhi has shown is the end-to-end flow itself. But if there is if we want to solve for the end-to-end flow and bring all the context in so that your recruitment team is able to manage the entirety of it within Teams and collaborate right here, we can. Or we can focus on specific portions of it where we can build out those integrations with the application that you already use so that you get the context and the information within Teams and you're able to, in return, push back information and update those systems.
And just follow up here is that this sort of manifestation that you walked us through, of course, it is one way to design it, right?
Yes.
And it's totally as per the way you would bring in the process would be how it is done today for a specific organization, and you can use these components. And this was just one of the manifestations.
Yeah. This is just an imagination of how collaborative, the entire recruitment process can be. Every organization might have different workflows or different approval processes, a particular way in which it needs to be done. And we can certainly build around that to ensure that there is compliance while there's collaboration.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is a great art of possible, and with that, I think the scenario 1 is done. And thanks so much, everybody, for a very engaging chat thread. I look to answer a few of those, as and when it comes in. Thanks, Harish. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Hey, Srinidhi, there were a few questions if you would like to address those, and primarily one around. Can you touch upon some of the technical aspects? Maybe if you have a reference architecture that anyone who's interested in this could use.
Absolutely. Yeah, so in the same presentation, we do have an architecture diagram. Just in the interest of time, I have sort of hid it, but happy to walk those through to the architecture diagram to sort of give an overview of how we have thought through the scenarios. Yeah, so Harish, if you could pull that architecture diagram.
Sure. There you go.
Yeah, so this is a very simplified way of how we have put this screens together. There are a lot of talking points, touch points. There are different personas who are talking to one bot that is centrally available on Teams. There are different ways how information is surfaced into this particular application. One of that is bot message extension. Another one is a web app, which we saw as a part of the tab. And then how each of this system interact with your main recruitment app services, which involves various backend, right? It could have, a particular application that runs specifically for interviews. It could have particular application that are for feedbacks. And there are so many other tools as well, which is standalone, that are sort of feeding into these recruitment app services, right? One of them is your whole place or database where you're having all of your candidate information, employee database, your interview Q&A, and then there are also a few other, integration points, like the way how we communicate back to the interviewees, right? Like it could be a third-party SMS, it could be, any other gateway integrations, and all the items that you see on the screen could be a system that you use today of your own, right? It could be a success factor, it could be any other third-party HR tools that you're using for each of these line items, and depending on a little bit of technical feasibility check, we would be able to integrate all of that and surface it inside of Teams, right? So that's the high-level overview. I'd love to double-click on any of the places that we want, either in a one-on-one conversation or in any other places, but this is just a very high-level architecture of how the entire system works end-to-end.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Srinidhi. And that was great. That was fantastic. And yeah, guys, keep the questions coming on chat, and we will definitely address them as we go. Aryak, I'm going to pass on the baton to you, my friend. Take us away.
Hey, thanks, Harish. Yeah, so keeping in line with the theme today of basically empowering employees and extending this on to frontline workers, I'd like to talk about a scenario around empowering store associates. Now we're picking retail because that's the industry I think everybody has a touch point with. We all do shopping, so we're all familiar with retail. And just a quick word on frontline workers. Your frontline workers is that persona that's basically not is not basically an information worker, not really working a desk job like the folks here on the call today. But think of them as field workers, workers who are actually maybe on the store, interacting first with the customers, having a first-hand experience with the product, and actually delivering those services and that experience that's actually designed in the boardroom. And that's why it's so much more important to empower these workers with the right tools to affect those business metrics positively. So Harish, if you could go to the next slide, I'm going to see if I can request some control. OK, cool. So the scenario that we're talking about right now is about retail. Let's take an example of a big box retailer where we have a large retail store that also sometimes doubles up as a warehouse, where we have a lot of let's say a lot of inventory just in the back of the store, where is the warehouse and a retail store combination. And the personas that we're talking about today are, one is the, let's say one is the store associate. In this case, the name here is Adi, who's the store associate, and Adi's job is basically to make sure that he's basically interacting with customers, helping them, making sure that customers find what they need. And the shelves are basically stocked with the right kind of goods and the right kind of inventory. And then there is the warehouse picker, Babak here, who's basically making sure that the inventory levels are maintained, and then whenever there's a replenishing request, either from the warehouse to the store or in the warehouse itself in terms of raw inventory, he has a view and is able to keep stock of the inventory. Now, without these tools today, there's no automated view of inventory available to store associates or warehouse or sometimes to warehouse pickers. And anytime any kind of replenishment from the warehouse needs to happen to the store, it's actually a manual process or a paper-based process. Sometimes you may find frontline workers using shadow IT tools, the likes of WhatsApp, WeChat, whichever is relevant in the region. This often leaves a lot of room for error-prone processes and basically reducing efficiency. So we're going to be taking you through an entire journey of stock management and inventory through these personas. So if you could go to the next slide, Harish. Sorry, I'm unable to change here. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so this is the persona from the point of view of the store associate. And the store associate, let's say, you could go to the next one. The store associate basically is approached by a customer and they're looking for a particular product, and while they're looking maybe let's say for 8 units, and they're able to find about 3 or 4 in the store, but now they're looking at the customer care associate to see if they have more in the back, which is like a very common kind of scenario. And on the next slide, so now with this tool, this customer care associate basically has an option to look up for any particular SKU or particular product using the QR code or barcode scanner. You could easily pull that up, scan the kind of SKU that they're actually looking for, and the system recognizes the code, as we see on the next slide. Harish, the next. Cool. Yeah, so the system recognizes the scanner, and here we're using inherent device capabilities of the camera and basically being able to scan the QR code through the camera. The code is recognized, and the system basically tells them that they have 11 quantity of these items in stock today, and a minimum level, and what's the unit price, etc. And they do find that okay, there are only 3 here on the store, and then the others are in the back in the warehouse. They could quickly use walkie-talkie. Now this replaces that manual step of having to hunt around and look for the warehouse picker or basically having to reach them face to face. Using the walkie-talkie, they could ad hoc reach the entire warehouse picking team, and whoever is on duty. We see on the next slide that Babak is on duty, and he's at that time on shift, and he's able to get that message, and he picks up this request on the walkie-talkie, sending out a confirmation. And then because this is an ad hoc request, it's an ad hoc flow where a customer is on the floor and requesting a quick response. He could quickly use the inventory app on his own phone and basically locate the SKU using the locate SKU button on the top, the search bar, and he could either has the option to either search by typing it out or scanning a code. In this case, he's just basically scanning. In this case, he's basically typing it out because it's an ad hoc request, and the system basically gives him these responses. He's also presented with a view of the rows and columns in which the bins are placed in the warehouse, and he knows exactly which row and column he has to go to pick up this request. And he can just quickly go to that bin, pick up those queues and complete the request, as we see in the next slide. So as he goes, but the thing that we want to be careful of is people are registering all the pickups from those bins and all the restockings. And therefore, when you pick up, he's prompted to basically scan the items that he's picked up using the scanner, and log in the amount of inventory he's putting in on the next slide. Yeah. Now, as he puts in the next slide, the app recognizes that they've actually gone below the minimum stock level, and therefore he's presented with this low inventory alert. And if he just checks that box on submitting the request to reorder, the app automatically takes care of the replenishment order. So he's picked up the order now. He's also submitted a restock request to make sure they're never below their requisite inventory levels, and he submits it. Now, this was an entire ad hoc flow where he was able to reach the warehouse picker, where the store associate is able to reach the warehouse picker on walkie-talkie and basically get goods delivered to the storefront. But there could actually be a more planned flow, and this happens in a lot of retail processes where actually the store associates would actually take rounds of the store in the morning and see if there is any replenishment required, and if they have the requisite SKUs according to the campaigns that are running or according to the season that they have. So as you see on the next slide, now the inventory app also has the option for requesting for a restock. Now, this is a more planned flow where requesting for restock basically allows the customer care associate to search for those SKUs and prepare a list of sorts, a digital list of all of the SKUs that they need. So you see on the next slide, there's a list of as you scan every item that needs to get ordered or you manually punch it in, you get the variance in terms of their quantity and the various quantities that they're available in, and you add them in as to what's the kind of order that needs to come into the store. Yeah, you complete that order adding different products. Here we see the detergent first, and here the instant coffee here, and then you go ahead and submit that request. This is how the customer care associate could complete their flow in the morning and make sure the stocks on the shelves are basically there. This request actually now goes ahead and lands in the team where all the warehouse pickers are added. So when they turn up for their shift, they basically see the list of the shelves getting which are the shelf replenishment requests that they have. Now these requests are up for grabs, and they could go ahead and assign them to themselves, or if there is a store manager, they could assign them to the relevant warehouse picker. Once they do get assigned, the app on this next slide, you'll see the app basically helps the assigned requests basically show up in one single view for the warehouse pickers, where they can start picking all of these items, and as they go through the list, they basically also presented with a map view of the entire warehouse as to where it is that these items are actually located. They go into those relevant bins, pick up those items, and on the next slide, as you see, they scan those items. And again, the whole scanning point around this is pretty important, just to make sure that the inventory levels are up to date at any point in time. And just when they've added and scanned everything else, they can go ahead and click on fulfill and submit that order, and that completes that whole planned workflow. Now, lastly, as the goods move from the warehouse to the store and keep getting sold, eventually the warehouse is going to run out of goods. So there's going to be a regular replenishment that needs to happen for the warehouse as well. And so that we'd be not ever in a situation where the warehouse is out of goods completely. There's a low stock alert also presented to the store managers periodically when any SKUs basically go out of stock. And this could be, of course, configured to go to the relevant store manager or the relevant SKU manager as required. And in this case, while we were talking about one store and one warehouse, this could be easily extended to one store, multiple warehouses in the region, multiple stores in the region, and multiple warehouses in the region. And that map could actually be a map of different warehouses in different locations as well. Yep, so this back to that personal scope app here, where the store manager basically gets the low stock alert, is able to put in a low stock the replenishment request here. If we do have integrations with other partner systems, there could be a real-time view of the sort of a track and trace of how the inventory is actually coming in. Yep, you could go to the next slide, Arish. Yeah, that actually completes the entire flow. And like I said earlier, while we took for simplicity the example of one store and one warehouse, it could actually spread across multiple warehouses, multiple retail stores. I'm going to see if we have any questions. Hey, you're on mute, Harish, in case you're speaking.
I didn't realize. This is awesome. I have a question. Again, just with the previous example, there are different ways in which the whole retail and inventory management works across different organizations. So what you've shown is just like an example of what is possible, right? And
correct. So
the entire thing could be done completely differently.
Exactly. This is exactly what we refer to as the art of the possible. This is one possibility of what can happen. Of course, today there are point solutions that many retailers may be using in terms of ERPs, where all of the inventory information lies. And those ERPs could actually serve as systems of record. And the Teams app could actually serve as that system of engagement, where the users have access to all of that data and are able to make synchronous updates to the ERP from the Teams app itself.
Awesome. And this is more of a really like a general question. If there is someone like in general, like looking for solutions like this, how do we go about it? Or like, how do you enable them, or how do we as a team, enable them? This might be something for everybody to listen to. Absolutely.
So a lot of we, as the Teams engineering group, we basically work with a lot of partners that help make these solutions real. We actually do have a partner upcoming in the presentation.
Okay.
We actually have Tata Consultancy Services bringing up a solution that they've actually developed. And I'll hand it over to Swaminathan if you're there on the call.
Sure, Arya. I hope I'm audible.
Hey, Swaminathan, yes, you're audible. Go for it.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so Arish, if you mind going to the slide where we'll get started.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So in continuation to the theme of empowering frontline workers, which Arya had presented, I would like to present one of our interesting solution for frontline worker from TCS. So to start with that, I wanted to set a brief context, right, about how the solution got conceptualized. So hybrid work, that is the next disruption enterprises are embracing after remote-only work setups. While we are seeing enterprises design robust strategies for hybrid work models, the need of the hour is to put easy-to-use technology in the hands of frontline workers, an integral part of organizations across industries. And this is the core and massive demand we are hearing across our customers who have a kind of factory-based setup, and how to empower them, how to give them an easy-to-use solution to kind of give them a very safe and efficient operating environment. So just for example, if frontline workers can log incidents with real-time photographs, asset details, and live location on a chat-based mobile workspace, like for example, Microsoft Teams, right from the factory floor in front of a hazardous machinery they're operating on, it will help improve their productivity immensely, and also to cater to the core needs of frontline worker in these kind of factory environments. A TCS Industrial Connect solution was born. So which, if you look at, is actually a solution which enables worker to interact with the field operations and reporting systems in real time, kind of enabling the digital ecosystem to a frontline worker who's on the move in front of machineries, operating, servicing, and so on. And TCS Industrial Connect is a solution which is part of the overall connected worker solution suite for next-gen field force digitization to enhance safety and operational efficiency. So with that context, I would like to present an interesting demo in the lens of two core personas. One is a typical field worker. Say, for example, we have a field worker called Thomas who works in a factory floor. say for example in an oil and gas industry where he's working in front of a boiler plant, an oil plant, etc. And the core needs for Thomas is to post any safety observation, any identification of safety hotspots he has identified in real time to alert the necessary health and safety admin so as to prevent and minimize incidents which could happen while working with an hazardous machineries. And then secondly, have a one collaborative channel where any kind of announcement, awareness, incident can be seen and kind of consumed in real time so as to take necessary steps and become kind of create a safety environment for all the co-workers working in one space. And finally, kind of have a place where all these alerts gets delivered within the mobile device, be it a unique device or a shared device or a kiosk system where they're operating on. And secondly, the health and safety admin who pretty much administers and manages factory floor. Here we can take an example of Peter who's taken up this role. And he has to manage, he has to approve if any incident or observation has been raised and kind of bring in the right experts to the site plant to immediately avert any kind of issue or kind of make any servicing to be done on priority. And again, if any field worker raises and kind of brings up with an incident, whether it actually is an incident, to upgrade it, to downgrade it, all these features you need to have. So we'll see a quick demo covering a few of these core aspects. Let me share my screen, Harish.
Hey, go for it.
So I'll start off with a quick demo where as a field worker, Thomas, he has spotted a incident, say for example, an oil leakage in an asset which he's working on. So how he goes about and kinds of raises it easily in real time using his mobile device powered by Microsoft Teams solution. So if you look at my screen, there is going to be a one-stop channel called Safety Awareness and Observation, which is going to be available for all the factory workers while they're working with their machineries. And they could quickly come to this channel, have a tab about the latest happenings, any awareness, any observations, any assessment are going on, consume it in real time. And our Industrial Connect solution is pretty much scoped to this channel, the one-stop channel, which will help factory worker to tag it on the go and kind of get things done while they are working with their machinery. So here, for example, now as a factory worker, Thomas has spotted an oil leakage incident. He quickly takes up his device. He goes in front of the asset. He takes a photo of the asset, and he quickly kind of annotates where if he sees the problem using the native art of features available from Teams platform within the mobile application. And he quickly annotates it and attaches the image. And additionally also has an option to tag the right asset, which seems to have the problem. So that essentially we kind of enable the right experts to service the right asset rather than going through multiple middlemen to bring in to understand where the problem is.
Right.
And this
that
again
that skips quite a few steps in terms of now mapping the incident with the actual asset itself. Absolutely, yeah. And this set of master list of assets is going to be latest and updated from an organization standpoint. So they ensure which assets is operating in which environment and accordingly make it available. And once it is kind of tagged and a post is posted, immediately our iConnect solution comes to the forefront. It quickly sends a very crisp card for the factory worker to kind of confirm the categories, consequence, and site, so that if there is any mismatch of information available, you could quickly select the right category and submit it right away. And an option also automatically tagging the geolocation of this asset. And as a factory worker, I could verify and validate whether the right location has been tagged so that the local authorities could be kind of alerted. And then what happens, it goes and connects with your enterprise health and safety system. It could be an SAP system or any industry, a popular system which you are currently leveraging. It goes, creates a ticket and kind of assigns it and kicks off all the related workflows right from the frontline worker interface.
Yeah, and what's important here, Swami, to highlight is that in terms of keeping the frontline worker in the flow of work, the first time they see an incident, the instinctive response is to go where the people are, which is on the chat here. And the system basically lends itself to be available on that chat construct where people are actually engaged.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, they could use all the Teams video call, audio call feature to quickly get into a call with their plant supervisor or any co-worker to understand if it's really is an incident, and all those additional features also becomes automatically available.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this was my first demo segment. So likewise, I also wanted to cover another demo segment. So
Sure.
pretty much take an example of a manufacturing industry where there is a need to kind of operate with machineries in manufacturing, etc. And all. And there we have a newly inducted, say, a factory worker. Let me quickly bring that up. A newly inducted factory worker who is new to the factory, and he observes a kind of incident or a boiler leakage happening. And since he's new to the factory, he is not having his device right now with his hand. So he quickly goes to his line manager or to a central kiosk application where Teams into the web experience is available for them. And again, it's going to have specific dedicated channel where the incident could be raised and our solution kicks in and connects it with the relevant experts to reduce and minimize the further implications of the incident. So here, for example, now as a factory worker, I have spotted an incident. I immediately go to my line manager, and my line manager on behalf of me, he goes ahead, uses his Teams and goes to this channel. Mentions the TCS Industrial Connect and quickly gives a brief description, explains about what the incident is. And immediately he gets a crisp card, the similar experience to select the category type and quickly submit it for an approval to the health and safety plant admin who is designated to this factory wherever he is working on. So here, if you look at, there are three views. Quickly, I'll explain. The first one is a view where the incident by the line manager has been raised. And the second view is the actual health and safety admin, plant admin, who's responsible to approve an incident and further bring in right experts to start working on the specific incident from there on. And thirdly, another factory worker who's working with, say, a different machinery in the same plant. So once the line manager goes ahead and creates an incident, the other two users, if they are on the same channel browsing through it, they get a brief update that another user is raising an incident while the user raises it. And after it is raised, they also get to see the card updated for them, automatically refreshed. And the point to be noted here is the same card is going to provide different options depending on the type of role the user is performing. As a creator of the incident, they get an option to cancel it. As a plant health and safety admin, I get an option to approve or reject this incident right away after it gets created. As a co-worker, I just get a brief notification as a card what the incident is got created here. And as a plant admin, I also kind of intersect between a frontline worker and a knowledge worker. So I might be also having a tab into my Outlook emails. I'll be using a tablet or a laptop. So this solution also sends out an email notification with the same card to the Outlook of the plant admin. So from any of Outlook or Teams Canvas, wherever the plant admin is, he could immediately get to understand what the incident is and approve it or reject it right away.
Hey Harish, if I can just come in. I know we're at the top of the hour and some of the folks might actually have other calls to go to. Before that, I wanted to share a quick form in the meeting chat for folks who may be going ahead and dropping off. Thanks. Go ahead, Swami.
Sure. So as a plant admin, I also get a notification in my Outlook, and I could also approve right from here. So once after it gets approved, automatically the updates gets refreshed to all the three views whichever we have seen before with the latest information about the approval status. And what essentially happens, the further set of workflow items connected to the enterprise health and safety systems kicks in, and it goes ahead and right experts gets mobilized here. And further to this, as a plant admin, I also get to see a dashboard, which we are not covering in the demo, but essentially it's part of our core solution, where
Sure.
as an admin, I get to see a dashboard with all the created tickets and also an option to see a map view across geographies where there are many hotspots, many kind of incidents happening. How do I further plan to reduce it? What necessary steps I need to take? So all these kind of a quick dashboard is available. Further to that, depending on a specific organization need, these data could be further processed into a Power BI kind of setup to further create different types of dashboards depending on the requirements and plan and improvise the way how we operate.
Hey, awesome. I really like the example in the demo, Swaminathan. Especially love that the single solution is able to give different folks or different personas in the organization the relevant context for them to collaborate within their own workflow and just get tasks done. Whereas as opposed to being the same level of information or the same context. And that's fantastic. Awesome.
Thank you. So Harish, maybe back to you if you could share the slide deck.
Yep, back to me.
Yeah. Yes. So just brief 30 seconds I wanted to spend on this slide. So this, as you might have seen in the demo, is a Teams channel scoped application, custom Teams app, which helps factory workers to mention it, to tag it, and get things done while they are on the move. And it's gonna have an option to integrate with say your health and safety systems which you have in the organization. Currently we have, depending on the requests we have seen, we have kind of integrated with an SAP kind of system. But this, as I told you previously, is a extensible and flexible framework. Depending on your organization, what type of health and safety systems you're going to leverage, it gives you an option to integrate it and kind of connect those digital ecosystem touch points into the same application.
Awesome.
Yeah. So with that, the next slide. Yeah. And I also wanted to briefly talk about the scenario, whichever we have seen. Pretty much we initially conceptualized it for an oil and gas industry, but it is equally applicable to any factory-based operating system, right? For example, it can be a hardcore manufacturing industry where if we want to do any inspections, if we want to do any preventive servicing, we take a photo, we kind of take expert opinions while we are on the plant. And for a plant expert or an admin, they could be in a different plant, but still get into a call, kind of understand what the issue and make the right decisions on a specific asset they are servicing or working on. And we have seen the safety observations and awareness theme in our demo. Likewise, asset health monitoring, maintenance, work permit system, field inspections. These are the different business process area which eventually TCS Industrial Connect solution can help to automate, to digitize, and give the power of technology to the hands of frontline workers.
And so, Swami, as I see this, and there are questions about this in the chat as well, at the core, this is basically an incident reporter that we're talking about, and this could be repurposed for other industries, maybe healthcare, or other industries, maybe a pharma industry, where there could be maybe, let's say there's a biohazard incident that needs to get reported, or other industries where any incident reporting, maybe aviation could be another example. Is that correct?
Absolutely, Arya. In fact, this also has an option to integrate your any homegrown or your ServiceNow kind of IT platforms also to this ecosystem. So depending on your organization, how it is working, we could kind of plug it in and conceptualize it accordingly.
Sure.
Awesome. Fantastic. Hey, I'm just going to move in to the next slide in the interest of time, Swaminathan. I hope that's okay.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, we also wanted to quickly talk about how, or rather why this app on Teams is more valuable. So there are few core aspects, right? For example, this application sitting on top of Microsoft Teams will expand the features which already we are able to get within Microsoft Teams, and also connect your enterprise application ecosystems within the same one Canvas app, which you're already comfortable with, and which, as an organization, if you have already invested in M365, say for example, and enabling this solution is gonna make you float your app rather easily compared to any other native application, and it goes through all its own processes to make it available for the frontline workers, and it introduces additional touch point where the frontline worker needs to understand, become comfortable, and use it within their devices. And it doesn't need any new specific learning because it's an app delivered within the same channel which you're comfortable with, and you can choose your audience for your app. That is another good feature we get from Teams, and all the admin capabilities, and connects with your conversation. You could simply take a link of the post you have done within this channel, share it to your plant admin to immediately alert him and give additional context from there on. And finally, you build once, you use it everywhere. It is available across your mobile touchpoint, web, desktop, client. Gives you an optimal experience to cater to the audiences depending on whichever system or touchpoint they are comfortable with.
Excuse me, which license of MS365 is required for this? Which version? There are some E1, E5, those licenses are there. Which license is required for this application?
Let me take that, Tapan. Actually, for any frontline worker solution or any solution that we talked about today, these are not license specific. These only need the users to be on Teams. Once they're on Teams, they can access these solutions. So it's license agnostic. As long as they have access to Teams, they have access to any apps you build on it.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, so we have one more really interesting showcase. So Swaminathan, thank you so much. Sorry if I had to cut you short. I do apologize, but the showcase was fantastic, and thank you so much for also sharing how it can extend to, you know, other industries, other scenarios, and what this means in terms of this application being inside of Teams by affecting so many different personas and in so many different, you know, build once and use everywhere, so many devices. Thank you, Swaminathan. Thank you so much for your showcase. With that, and I'm just going to say that Swaminathan and folks from TCS and so many other, TCS is one of the partners we work with. We work with a long list of other partners to enable customers across the globe. We focus primarily on India, but we as Teams, as a product, we help in enabling organizations around the world. But from India, we actually have someone who is going to come in and present one of the solutions that they've built and they use within Teams today on a daily basis, and would love to hear them out. Hey, Mamta, are you on the call?
Yes, Harish.
Awesome.
So Harish, hi, this is Sunil from Interglobe Aviation. Harish, just one question around this Teams app.
Yep.
So all these examples or the you have shown to us, right? All works in an online mode, right? So can Teams app work in offline modes also?
Okay, so Sunil, let me take that, and I think this is pretty important in the industry that you represent here.
That's why I'm asking.
Which is aviation, and typically we have scenarios where maybe cabin crew or ground staff basically don't have access to internet, and then basically need to do these scenarios. So right now, our offline capabilities supported by Teams, yes, to an extent they are, and we're constantly improving these capabilities. For example, in terms of a scenario where, let us say, there is a tab-based application that the cabin crew has, where they're maybe doing a survey of all the of, let's say, the meal trays on the aircraft and seeing how much meal trays they have left for the next flight to reduce turnaround time. They would actually put in those entries to that survey form, or any other information that they want to put in a survey form, and that will sync later when they have network. So so Teams will allow them to do those data entries and will allow them to sync later with the system when they do have network. Outside of that, there are also capabilities of caching bot notifications For example, let us say just before boarding the aircraft, there are a few changes to the schedule on the next flight that this cabin crew basically needs to head to. So they are basically sent out this notifications about a bot notification, and they didn't get a chance to see it while they were on the ground. But in the aircraft, if they pull that up, they will still be able to see those cached notifications to see what lies ahead when they actually reach the next destination. So cached notifications and tab experiences with offline support, those are certain things that we do have.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thanks, Aryak.
I guess before we give it to Mamta, I just want to take a quick minute to talk about how of our customers, and I have pasted the link as well on the chat. It'll be pretty interesting for everybody on the call to go through how few organizations, not just in India but across the globe, are transforming their business processes on Teams. Right? It could start from any of your business processes, not just restricted to what we have shown in the call today. It could be you transforming your IT process, transforming your core business vertical process, which is today pen and paper. We can try and transform it more digitally so that everybody has access to that particular scenario right within Teams as well. And what I have here are just very, very few customer logos, but obviously this is no justice to what some of our customers are doing in terms of transformation. And to know more about it, you could always check on the link or reach out to any of us if you have any specific scenarios that you want to discuss further. Thank you. Absolutely. That's just one pick.
We're almost at the end of this roundtable. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank Swaminathan from TCS, Mamta from Mindtree. Your participation has been fantastic and crucial. Srinidhi, Aryak, thank you so much. Thanks to myself for being a part of this. All the folks who helped out in chat, Radhi, Satya, this has been fantastic. And to everybody who joined us, who took time out, thank you so much. We will share a form. I think Aryak has already shared a simple form. If you liked what you saw today and you have a similar situation and you have a similar business requirement in your organization and you feel, hey, we're already using Teams and we should definitely use these extension points, the platform capabilities, and build something that will empower and enable your employees. Use that form and reach out to us. Or if you already have connects with any of us who are the CPMs here from Teams Engineering, reach out to us and we will get started. We will have that conversation and we will see how best we can bring that experience for you as well within Teams. With that, if there are no other closing thoughts from Srinidhi and Aryak,
I just want to thanks everybody for taking your time out, and obviously Microsoft, as Microsoft, we are open to hearing your business scenarios and we are eagerly waiting to transform some of your business processes on Teams. And thanks once again for taking your time out to be part of this roundtable.
Yep, thanks everyone. Thanks. It was great connecting with everyone and looking forward to connecting with the other folks on the call to take collaborative apps to the next level at your organization.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a lovely rest of the day and rest of the week. Or if you're off tomorrow, have a good weekend. See ya. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.